Good afternoon, everyone, and Merry Christmas. It's that time of the year. I'm all smiles. I really hope you're enjoying yourself. Today, we're going to take a quick look at a game I played recently in a rapid tournament here in the Kobe area. I played against someone called Umemoto. He's currently unrated locally, but he's clearly been playing a lot online because he was very strong. But I felt that this was a very interesting game, and so let's just jump straight into it. So I was white and I opened up with d4 as I've been playing recently in almost every game. And after I played c4, he went for the Queen's Gambit accepted. And now I really have two choices that I like to play. It's either e3 or e4. Leading up to this game, I had become kind of agitated because there was a long delay. They had to figure something out. So I just played quick. I wanted to just make it an easy game. I wanted to just get the game going. So just quick e3. E4 is a little bit more ambitious, but it also gives black a few more ways that they can try and get to you. So they just continued e6. I get my pawn back. And at this point, this is all still standard theory, but then they started to mix it up a little bit by immediately playing bishop e4 check. This is by no means an immense blunder or anything, but this is not mainline theory anymore. So we're getting into something that's a little bit different. Considering I've already put all my pawns here on black squares, I think I'll just trade off the bishops, and black complied. And after that, they brought out their knight. And I was just trying to play fast. I, at this point, was still keeping all my time on my clock, only playing on increment, just develop. And after they decide to put their knight over in g6, which is a little bit of an unusual position for the knight. So I thought this was quite interesting, and clearly you can see it's hitting a few squares, but I've actually already taken care of those two, and this one's currently being looked at by my knight as well, so I was a little bit unsure why they decided to go this way about it, but I just decided to bring out my knight, and after they castled, I castled as well. The reason why I didn't immediately castle was because with this knight here, one of the ideas white has is to play h4, h5, kick the knight, and potentially get some action on the king side. So I was a little bit unsure if I wanted to do that, but to give myself one more move to think about it, I decided to just develop my last knight before I castled. You can see now I obviously also have the chance to castle long if I wish to. But after they castled, I thought, man, maybe it's okay, I'll just castle as well. Just trying to play quick, just trying to get the game into an obvious opening where I can start thinking a little bit more deeply about the moves. Queen e7, that's fine. They obviously want to develop their queen side as well. Perhaps not the best continuation, maybe just striking out with one of the pawns on this side or trying to bring out the knight or the bishop would have been good too. But by no means a large mistake. I just bring out one of my knights, and here they go with c6. So this is the first point in the game where I thought, okay, well, maybe white is going to be slightly better here. And the reason is that black has traded off their dark square bishop, but they've also put their pawns on light squares. So currently their bishop can't go out anywhere. It's just staring at the back of their pawns. This happens a lot in many d4 openings, as we know. Black frequently has a light square bishop problem. In the French, you always face this, and in comparison in the Caro-Kann, you don't, but then obviously there's some other things that you might have to give up. So by no means losing for black, but I did think, all right, this gives me time. They're not coming at me at any haste, and I can try and figure out how I want to progress. So I decided to bring my other rook across. Now I've finished. All my pieces are developed. My rooks are on the files that are semi-open, so I'm expecting that from here on I have to start building a real attack. I can no longer just take easy small moves and do nothing. So they bring out their knight, and I decide I'm just going to stop their queen from being able to come in to this side of the board. I don't know if they want to, but I just want to give it a second to make sure that I'm safe. And also, I'm expecting that one of these two moves are coming. And in that case, maybe it's nice if the b4, b5 gets played, that I also have a pawn that can protect my knight so it doesn't immediately get kicked off the square. And indeed, they played b5, the very next move. I do remember Ben Feingold always saying, always play bishop f1, but I decided to play bishop e2, and did work out fairly well for me in the game as well, so I guess that was not a mistake. And here they come with their light square bishop, so very slow, obviously. They're not really attacking anything immediately, but this protects their backwards pawn, and if they ever move it, they can obviously also fire down this diagonal at my knight on my king side. And here I decided that I'm going to start looking at these squares here. So you can see here clearly I've got a very nice option here. I was also wondering if there's a way I could potentially start making a plan on this square here, if there's something I might be able to do against the king side. Just ideas. I wasn't really making any solid plans as such. I do also realize that with jumping the knight over, I give myself a bit of space with my queen potentially. And actually, after they decided to play over their own queenside rook, that's exactly what I did because that undefends this a pawn. And now, obviously, they can go back or they have to push it. These are only the two, only the real ways that they can protect this pawn, and they do decide to push it. And now we can see that this dark square bishop complexion problem is kind of expanding a little bit for them. And I don't have a dark square bishop either, but I'm the one attacking. So they're the one that who has to fill up these holes. So I did this. I put my queen way in there. And truthfully, there was no immense attack here. Obviously, I'm threatening the light square bishop, but it could probably just, sit somewhere. I thought they could maybe also play their knight somewhere else, and then I would just have to trade because everything is defended, or I would have to move my queen back. So this move was not really intended to bust open the position and win, but I saw that black was playing a little bit passively, and so I thought I would put the pressure on them, have them figure out what they want to do with my queen sitting in their position. And they thought for a while, and then they found what I thought was quite a nice continuation. They played knight e5, which clearly hangs the knight, but obviously my queen is hanging right now, so I have to move my queen. And then after they've gotten this jump across, they can take on f3 with check, which means that currently this jump is protected because I have moved my queen. And then whatever happens after that, they can take my knight first, and I have to take back, and then they can do whatever else they had to do. So very nice move by black. Given the situation up until this point here, I try to avoid trading off any pieces because I'm the one with the most space and I'm trying to make sure that black feels a bit cramped. So I didn't even really want to trade off the dark square bishops as such, although that was a little bit earlier, but less trading is surely better for me. So after this move, I realized that I can't really get away from trading anymore. Obviously, my queen can't take the knight either because it's protected. So, okay, fair enough. I'll trade, and they do take my knight first. I take my knight back with my light square bishop, bringing it out onto this diagonal, and then they take back my queen. And so in this position, I can see that I clearly still have some options. I still have this square, which is really nice. It's begging for a knight to be jumping in there. This is a very nice outpost. Only their knight can really pick me from there unless they want to sack a rook for it. And obviously, as soon as I land here, I hit some really good squares on their side. Their light square bishop still can't get out, and it can keep my knight from jumping in somewhere dangerous, but at the same time, I realize now that I'm gonna get a few moves, and every move comes with another threat, and black keeps having to answer me in some way. So I jump, attack their light square bishop. They can defend it and lose it if they want to. Actually, if I was them, I wonder if I would have done it, to be honest. But yeah, the light square bishop currently can't do much, so maybe it's not the worst if they did do that. Although what you will also realize is as soon as I jump my knight out, I'm hitting this pawn with my bishop, and my rook is already staring at it down this half open file. And so this is now going to turn into a lovely little merry-go-round as I move my knight with a new threat and a new threat and a new threat, and unfortunately black has to keep on parrying the threats. So my first jump in, I threaten their light square bishop, they move it out of the way. I bring my knight back to d3, preparing to go into e5, and that unveils the attack on their c-pawn. So again, they defend it, they bring their bishop over to the right side. Now I jump my knight in, and again, I'm hitting their bishop, I'm hitting this pawn, and they don't have enough defenders. So actually, in hindsight, maybe they should have brought their other rook over because then they would have had one still. But because they brought their rook over from A to D, that restricted the other rook's range to the rest of the files, and there's nothing happening on the rest of the files. So you can also see the way I put my rooks out. The reason I put it on the C file was because I wanted to bring the other one over to the D file. And if I put, for instance, my F rook on the C file, then my A rook would have had nowhere to go. So when you do put your rooks out, make sure you don't put it on the other rook's file because they need enough space to breathe. So I just attacked their bishop again, also the pawn, and both of these are now weak. And so after they decided to play f6, Black's lashing out. They're trying to find a way to just kind of force the situation. They're trying to maybe potentially find a way to bring their king into the position. I have a choice. Do I take the pawn or do I, oopsie, do I take the pawn or do I take the bishop? Both of them end up winning the pawn, so I ended up taking the bishop, but just to show you, if for instance we did this, this would still be the same situation. If for instance we did this and they tried to, um, what's it gonna call it, pin me, I could still take because my rook is defended by the other one, and I'd be of a piece. So I ended up taking the bishop though, and after I took the pawn, and now they can again pin me, and I can run out of the way. So, for instance, I run here, they take, I take, and in this case, I still have the file, so things are looking really good for me, to be honest. There's also another version where I can be threatened by black on the file, so this is probably better for them. And after we take, I might have to run my king over here and force them not to take my pawns. Or actually, I think in this position, let's just say they take back. I actually think the best move for me might even be after I move my king maybe, is to put my rook on b1 because my king is going to be closer to the action, their king is too far away, and my bishop is obviously very mobile. I've got it on the right color complex, so there's a lot of space for it to run around my pawns. Very, very, very useful bishop around these pawns right now. Right, but anyway, they decided to just take my bishop right away, and I took their knight. And after they pushed e5, so maybe this was their long-term plan. Obviously, if I now accidentally take their pawn, it's mate. But all I really have to do is push past. It is defended by my rook, and after they decide to defend their a pawn, now I can play e4, and now I've got a protected passer. So I'm really, really just slowly making sure that all my dots and i's are t'd and crossed and everything. Black has no counterplay on the queen side. I'm currently controlling the open file. I have the passer, and I can bring my king in after I play f3. I can double up on the file as well. So black is really sitting in a corner now, and I'm just slowly going to realize my advantage. Okay, so they put their rook in front of my pawn. I double up on the c file. They come at my e pawn. I defend it with my f pawn. They decide they want to push, maybe try and find a way to break through. So what I could do now, which might be a mistake, is if I go here and they take and I take, then they can come in, and then there's more than one open file. Then black gets access to my side of the board as well. And I'm probably still winning this situation, but why complicate things? Why give black a chance to have some activity? So after they play a5, I just play b3. And in this situation, a very easy pattern to know, whichever pawn they play, I push the other one, and these pawns aren't going anywhere. So they played a4, I played b4. Done. None of these can move anymore, they're completely locked. And there's just nothing to do on this side of the board anymore. They take my pawn, I take back, so black is still trying to find a way to build some space for themselves, to find a way into the position, but I just opposed their bishop, or their knight right away. Oh, what am I saying? I just opposed their rook right away, and then after they double up, and again now in doubling up they force me to take, right? Because um, I can't, what, give them the file. If I think I'm being smart and like, aha, I'm pinning your back rook, I still get mad at because the front rook was mobile, right? So important that I do take. And in this position, black unfortunately did not have sufficient time anymore and they flagged. My easy option I thought I had was if they took with the rook, I would go back, I would trade, and I would slowly walk my king in. In this situation, I have a protected passer. Nothing's happening on this side of the board. Their king can't come in. So the only place we're going to play is on the king side. And all I have to do in this position is get my king far enough up, get a pawn next to it, and then push my other passer. You can even look at this position. If they take this passer, if this pawn is gone, I still have all the control I need. Their king can only come into the position on this side of the board, and if my king's there, they can't. And with this, you have the classic problem of having two weaknesses. My king and a pawn will force their pawns to either take or break apart in some way, and I can make their king move away by pushing my passer, which it has then to go defend. So I really, really enjoy this game. Oh, by the way, if they took with their king, obviously, I had a slightly different situation I could do. I could probably still go here and try and take their back pawn. I could try and take this pawn over here. I could also just come straight on this side. But unfortunately, we didn't get to play it out because Black did flag at that point. And that was it. So I really, really enjoyed this game. It was a fantastic tournament. If anyone is ever in the Osaka Kobe area, Kim, please come by and join us. It's really fun to have some new faces every now and then. And see you guys around. Thank you much for joining. Goodbye.